Rastafari is more than just dreadlocks and reggae music. It is a livity, a way of living that seeks harmony with Jah creation. One of the most important parts of this livity is Ital food, natural food that nourishes the body, mind, and spirit. But just as there are foods Rastas embrace, there are also foods they reject, because not everything that Babylon sells is fit for the temple of the Most High. In this reasoning, we will look at 4 major types of food that Rastafarians do not eat, and why avoiding them is key to spiritual and physical freedom. Let's begin with 1. Shellfish and scavenger fish. When we talk about the Ital way of eating, one of the first things Rastafari reject is shellfish and scavenger fish. This includes lobster, crab, shrimp, oysters, clams, and even bottom-feeding fish like catfish. To many people, these are delicacies, expensive foods served in fancy restaurants. But to the Rasta man or woman living Ital, they are nothing more than the garbage collectors of the sea. Just like Jah created vultures to clean the land, he created crabs, shrimp, and catfish to clean the waters. Their divine role is to consume the waste, the dead matter, and the filth of the ocean floor. To eat them is to take into your body what Jah himself designed to be nature's sanitation system. This principle is not only about common sense, but also deeply rooted in Scripture. In the book of Leviticus, chapter 11, Jah gave Moses clear dietary laws. Whatsoever hath fins and scales in the waters, them shall ye eat. And whatsoever hath not fins and scales in the seas, they shall be an abomination unto you. Shrimp, lobster, crab, and catfish fail this test. They do not have both fins and scales. By biblical definition, they are unclean. Rastafari take this seriously because the Bible is not just a book of stories. It is a guide for righteous living, a light in Babylon's darkness. If Jah said these creatures are not fit for consumption, then who is man to argue? Beyond Scripture, there is also wisdom in nature itself. Shellfish and scavenger fish thrive in the dirtiest places. Shrimp feed on decaying plants and dead animal matter. Crabs pick apart carcasses on the ocean floor. Oysters and clams filter gallons of polluted water every day, trapping toxins, bacteria, and waste in their bodies. Catfish are known for eating mud, feces, and even the rotting flesh of other fish. When a person eats these creatures, they are indirectly consuming all that filth. That is why many who eat shellfish suffer from food poisoning, allergic reactions, and diseases caused by toxins. Science is only now catching up to what Jah already told us through Scripture and through the wisdom of Rastafari Livity. Ital is about life energy, the vibration that flows from pure food grown under the sun, nourished by rain, filled with minerals from the earth. Shellfish have no such vibration. They are dead energy, low frequency, and unclean. To eat them clouds the body, dulls the mind, and blocks the spirit from rising. Remember, the body is the temple of the living Jah. What we put inside either honors that temple or defile it. Shellfish are the very definition of defilement. Some may argue, but these foods taste good. They are rich and flavorful. But taste is not the measure of truth. Babylon seasons its poisons with spices, butter, and sauces, making them seem delightful. But beneath the surface is corruption. The Rasta knows that not everything that tastes sweet is good for the soul. True sweetness comes from a mango fresh off the tree, a coconut filled with pure water, a bunch of grapes kissed by the sun. That is Jah's flavor, not Babylon's illusion. Health studies confirm what Rastafari have known for generations. Shellfish are high in cholesterol, heavy metals, and toxins. They can carry hepatitis, parasites, and dangerous bacteria. Lobster and crab, often celebrated as luxury, are actually among the dirtiest foods one can eat. Doctors warn people with heart disease or weak immune systems to avoid them. Rastafari don't need Babylon doctors to tell them what Jah already declared. These creatures are not Ital. By rejecting shellfish and scavenger fish, Rastafari affirmed their covenant with Jah. It is not just a diet, it is a discipline. Every bite becomes a statement of faith. Every refusal to eat what Babylon calls delicacy is a step towards spiritual freedom. For Rasta, saying no to shrimp or crab is saying yes to purity, yes to Ital, yes to life. So when the world celebrates these foods at expensive dinners and seaside festivals, the Rastaman stands apart. He looks at the lobster on the plate and sees not a delicacy, but a bottom feeder designed by Jah to clean, not to nourish. He sees shrimp as the sweepers of the sea, not fit for the temple of flesh. He remembers the words of Leviticus and the wisdom of Ital, and he chooses life. For Rasta, avoiding shellfish is more than health. It is obedience, reverence, and liberation. The Ital path is about walking in harmony with creation, and part of that harmony is respecting the role Jah gave to every creature. Scavengers have their purpose, but their purpose is not to feed man. Their purpose is to cleanse the waters, to recycle, to maintain balance. By leaving them in their place, the Rasta honors creation and preserves his own purity. This is why the shellfish pot, the crab boil, the shrimp cocktail, all these Babylon delicacies have no place in the Ital kitchen. Instead, the Rastaman fills his pot with pumpkin, callaloo, yam, beans, and fresh fish from clean waters if he chooses. That food carries life, health, and blessing. That food uplifts the spirit instead of dragging it down. That food is Ital, and Ital is vital. Second, red meat and flesh foods. One of the strongest rejections in Rastafari Livity is the eating of red meat, and for many, the rejection extends to all flesh foods. The Ital path is not just about avoiding sickness. It is about keeping the body, mind, and spirit in alignment with Jah. Red meat, with its heaviness and death energy, has no place in the temple of the Rasta. Why is this so? First, the principle is spiritual. Rastas see food as vibration. Fruits, vegetables, grains, and herbs are filled with life energy. They grow from the earth, touched by sunlight, watered by rain. They are alive, and when eaten, they transfer that life to the body. Meat, however, is the opposite. It comes from death. The animal suffers, bleeds, and dies, and that vibration of fear and pain is locked inside its flesh. When man eats that flesh, he absorbs not only protein and fat, but also the spirit of death and suffering. How can death bring life? The scriptures give guidance. In the beginning, Jah told Adam and Eve, "Behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed, and every tree, in which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for food." Genesis 1 verse 29. Man's first diet was vegetarian, pure Ital. Only after the flood did meat enter the picture, and even then, the Bible placed strict rules. No blood, no unclean animals, no carcasses. The message is clear. The more we return to the original plant-based diet, the closer we walk with Jah's design. Health confirms this wisdom. Red meat is linked to high cholesterol, heart disease, diabetes, and even cancer. Doctors warn of processed meats being especially harmful, filled with nitrates, hormones, and toxins. But Rastas don't need Babylon science to tell them. Experience shows that heavy flesh clouds the body, slows digestion, makes the spirit sluggish. Ital food, by contrast, keeps the blood clean and the body light, allowing meditation, reasoning, and prayer to flow without blockage. Some Rastas make allowance for small, clean fish, those under 12 inches, with fins and scales. Even then, many choose to avoid them entirely. The stricter the Ital, the lighter the spirit. This is why many within the movement are vegetarian or vegan. For them, the rejection of flesh is a rejection of Babylon's food system, which thrives on killing and profit, not on life and love. The factory farms, the slaughterhouses, the meat industry, all are symbols of oppression and exploitation. To eat from them is to partake in Babylon's corruption. Look also at the natural order. A cow eats grass and transforms it into flesh. A goat grazes on herbs and produces milk. Man does not need to kill these creatures for life, for Jah already gave fruits, seeds, roots, and plants to sustain him. To eat meat is not necessity. It is desire, appetite, habit. Ital Livity calls for discipline. Choosing life over appetite, purity over indulgence, spirit over flesh. Rastas also see a direct connection between diet and consciousness. Heavy foods weigh down the spirit, making man more aggressive, more material-minded, more prone to sickness. A plant-based Ital diet lifts the vibration, opening the mind to higher reasoning, peace, and oneness with Jah. This is why Nyabingi gatherings often serve only Ital stews, food that fuels chanting, prayer, and drumming, not food that drags the body into sleep. So when the world gathers around steak dinners, barbecues, and feasts of flesh, the Rasta steps aside. He remembers that the body is Jah's temple. He remembers Genesis 1 verse 29. He remembers that blood and death cannot feed the soul. Instead, he fills his plate with pumpkin soup, callaloo, chickpeas, breadfruit, avocado, and mango, foods that bring color, flavor, and life. Foods that lift the vibration instead of lowering it. To reject red meat is to embrace freedom. It is freedom from Babylon's industries of death, freedom from disease, and freedom from spiritual heaviness. For Rasta, this choice is not a sacrifice, it is a blessing. For when one lives Ital, the body glows with health, the mind sharpens with clarity, and the spirit rises in unity with Jah. This is why red meat and flesh foods hold no place in Rastafari Livity. To eat them is to dwell with death. To leave them is to live with life. 3. Processed foods. If there is one thing Babylon has perfected, it is the art of turning natural food into dead food and selling it back to the people as if it were nourishment. This is the reality of processed foods, the boxes, cans, bottles, and bags that crowd supermarket shelves, brightly colored, sweetly flavored, and heavily marketed, but empty of the true life force Jah intended. Rastafari Livity rejects this system because Ital is about purity, about food as it was created, not as it was manipulated. Processed foods are foods that have been altered from their natural state. Think of canned soups, frozen dinners, packaged snacks, sodas, candies, fast foods. They are stripped of their natural essence and then pumped full of preservatives, artificial flavors, colorings, and chemicals to make them look fresh and taste exciting. On the surface, they may seem convenient, tasty, or even cheap, but underneath they are lifeless. They carry no vibration, no Ital, no spiritual strength. The Ital way teaches that food should come directly from the earth, fruits from the tree, vegetables from the soil, grains from the field, water from the spring. Food in its natural form is filled with minerals, vitamins, and enzymes that heal the body and nourish the mind. But once it is processed, refined, and packaged, it becomes more about profit than about health. Babylon designs it this way, to keep people hooked on sugar, salt, and fat while starving them of true nutrients. Rastafari reject processed foods for spiritual reasons as well. The body is the temple of Jah. To fill that temple with artificial chemicals is to pollute it. How can one reason deeply, chant psalms, or meditate on the Most High when the bloodstream is filled with preservatives and additives that cloud the mind? Ital is about keeping the temple clean so the spirit can rise. Processed foods block that connection, dulling the vibration and lowering the frequency of the soul. The scriptures give insight here too. In Genesis, Jah provided natural food, every herb bearing seed, and every fruit tree yielding fruit. There were no factories, no chemical plants, no laboratories. Man was meant to eat directly from creation. The closer we stay to Jah's original design, the more aligned we are with life. Processed foods are the opposite of this. They are Babylon's attempt to replace creation with imitation. From a health perspective, the dangers are clear. Processed foods are linked to obesity, diabetes, heart disease, and cancer. They contain high levels of refined sugar, trans fats, sodium, and artificial chemicals that damage the body over time. They may give a quick burst of energy but leave the body weak and addicted. This is why many people find themselves tired, anxious, or sick after years of eating them. Ital food, by contrast, strengthens the immune system, clears the blood, and provides steady, natural energy. Rastafari also see processed foods as a form of mental slavery. Babylon makes people dependent on its packaged goods, disconnected from the land, and unable to grow or prepare their own food. But Ital Livity encourages self-reliance, planting a garden, cooking fresh meals, living close to the earth. To eat Ital is to declare independence from Babylon's food system. To reject processed foods is to reclaim freedom. Look at the difference. A can of soup may sit on a shelf for 2 years, full of preservatives, dead and lifeless. But a fresh pot of pumpkin soup, made with herbs, onions, garlic, and coconut milk, feeds the body with warmth and vitality. A packaged candy bar may satisfy for 5 minutes, but a ripe banana or a handful of raisins gives lasting sweetness and strength. One is imitation, the other is creation. So when the Rasta enters a store, he does not look at the shiny packages or the frozen meals. He looks instead for the fresh produce section, the mangoes, the avocados, the callaloo, the yams. He knows that true food comes with no ingredient list, no barcode, no artificial additives. It comes from Jah's earth, straight and simple. This is why processed foods hold no place in the Ital kitchen. They are not real food. They are Babylon's illusion. The Rasta chooses instead to cook Ital stews, drink herbal teas, eat fresh fruit, and bake ground provisions. By doing so, he keeps his body strong, his mind sharp, and his spirit open to Jah. For Rastafari, rejecting processed foods is more than health. It is an act of resistance, a spiritual discipline, a way of saying, I will not eat Babylon's poison. I will live on Jah's abundance. And with every fresh bite, the Rasta steps closer to Zion, further from Babylon, and deeper into the Ital Livity that gives life. Lastly, GMOs and chemical foods, rejecting Babylon's altered creations. In Rastafari Livity, food is sacred. It is the bridge between the body, the mind, and Jah's creation. That is why Rastas are careful not only about what they eat, but also about how the food is grown. This is where GMOs, genetically modified organisms, and chemically treated foods come into focus. Anything altered by Babylon's laboratories, filled with artificial chemicals, or engineered to increase profit rather than life, is rejected in Ital living. Why is this so important? Because Jah created the earth and its seeds in perfection. Every grain, every fruit, every vegetable carries life force exactly as Jah intended. The soil, the rain, the sun, and the natural growth cycle produce food with vibration, energy, and purity. When man interferes, mixing genes in a lab, injecting chemicals, or using pesticides, he disrupts that natural life force. The food may look bigger, grow faster, or resist pests, but its vibration is deadened. To a Rasta, that is no longer Ital, it is Babylon. GMOs are more than just altered seeds. They are a symbol of control. Babylon wants to own the very source of life, to decide what can grow, what can be eaten, and what is profitable. By eating GMOs, one participates in that control, unknowingly consuming the designs of man rather than the blessings of Jah. Ital Livity refuses this. The Rasta plants, grows, and harvests food in harmony with nature, trusting Jah's design rather than man's manipulation. Chemical foods are equally rejected. Pesticides, fertilizers, growth hormones, and artificial additives are poisons disguised as nourishment. They harm the body, dull the mind, and disrupt spiritual sensitivity. Rastas understand that when the blood is filled with chemicals, the temple cannot vibrate properly. Prayer, meditation, and connection to Jah are weakened. Ital food, grown naturally and free from these toxins, strengthens the temple, elevates consciousness, and keeps the spirit in alignment. Rejecting GMOs and chemical foods is not only about health, it is a spiritual discipline, a conscious rebellion against Babylon's system. It is about reclaiming the natural order Jah established from the beginning. By choosing Ital, the Rasta aligns with life, not death, purity, not corruption, freedom, not control. The Rasta knows that real food does not need labels, preservatives, or laboratory interventions. A fresh fruit, a root vegetable, a handful of beans straight from the field, these carry the energy of Jah's creation. GMOs and chemically treated foods, no matter how appealing, are artificial, lifeless, and spiritually heavy. Choosing Ital over Babylon's altered creations is a daily act of resistance, a declaration of faith, and a commitment to live in harmony with the Most High. In this way, every meal becomes an offering, every seed planted a prayer, and every bite a statement. The body is a temple, and only Jah's true, natural gifts belong there. GMOs and chemical foods have no place in Ital living because they are tools of Babylon, not blessings from the Most High. These four, scavenger foods, red meat, processed meals, and GMO creations, are more than dietary restrictions. They are a declaration of independence from Babylon's system. To live Ital is to live close to Jah, to eat clean, think clean, and walk clean. So next time you reach for food, ask yourself, does this bring life? Or does it bring death? Does this come from Jah creation or Babylon's factory? Rastafari teaches us, The body is the temple. Keep it Ital, keep it pure, and watch how the spirit rises in strength and clarity. Bless up. If you feel the wisdom of Ital and Jah's guidance in your life today, make sure you subscribe to Zion Way. Stay connected, keep your vibration high, and walk the Rasta path with us every step of the way. One love, always.